Y'all ready, Minnie? Okay. Good morning. The committee will come to order. It was at a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, which is just north of my congressional district by coincidence, where two entrepreneurs dreamed up a machine that would fly people through the air. It took a bold spirit to think that big, and even bolder spirit to test it. But Orville and Wilbur Wright persevered and changed the course of history. A little more than a half-century later, we would fly to the moon. And a half-century after that, we are discussing an era when men and women don't even need to be in the aircraft to pilot it. Dayton, Ohio led then, and it's leading again. And one of our witnesses here today is a testament to that. We are here today to examine the commercial usage of unmanned aircraft by small businesses, to look at the benefits of this technology and discuss some of the concerns surrounding safe operations. Most importantly, we will have a conversation about how America can once again lead the world in a new era of flight. The potential uses of unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, is limitless. They can be used by local broadcasters to gather footage and report the news. They can be used by farmers to better manage their crops. They can be used by engineering firms to inspect bridges. And they can be used by first responders to help save lives. At the University of Cincinnati, students are working with the fire department to develop aircraft that give real-time information to firefighters and emergency crews about where a fire is burning and where it's moving. Currently, the Federal Aviation Administration is working to integrate unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, into the National Airspace System. On a case-by-case basis, the FAA is authorizing low-risk commercial UAS operations. The FAA also has proposed a rule to allow small unmanned aircraft, those weighing 55 pounds or less, to operate in our skies. The proposed rule includes a number of operating restrictions aimed at ensuring safe operations. I'm interested in learning from the small businesses and innovators that we have here today on the front lines about how the FAA's current process is working for them and how the proposed rule, once finalized, may affect their operations. I'm also looking forward to hearing how their small businesses are utilizing this new technology and planning for the day when UAS are fully integrated into American airspace. There are moments when we can unleash a positive force of innovation and job creation if we don't smother it with regulations. Most of the time, the government misses these moments, and we're left to wonder what could have been. There's always a balance to be struck. While we must promote public safety and proper usage of unmanned aircraft, we must ensure that the regulations are carefully crafted so that they don't prevent this new industry from innovating and helping grow our economy and, most importantly, create jobs. I'm eager to hear what our witnesses have to say about their own experiences, and I look forward to seeing how this new industry grows, and as it does, creates new opportunities for small businesses to capitalize on new technology. I would now like to recognize our ranking member for her opening statement this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this important hearing. America's entrepreneurs have long played an important role in the development and growth of unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs. While the evolution of these systems has been a game changer for our military, the benefits are not limited to the battlefield. Civilian drones can be employed for a wide range of commercial uses, and some companies are experimenting with this technology to deliver products to consumers. UAVs offer a cost-effective solution for everything from agriculture to news coverage to mapping and surveying terrain to the film industry. For our overall economy to remain competitive, it is important that the United States continue researching and developing this technology. Should we wait, other countries will likely pass us by in this emerging market. Japan has already moved forward aggressively to address safety and airspace regulation issues. Europe is expected to account for 15% of procurement of manned aerial vehicles, while European companies will produce nearly 4% of UAVs. As we work to ensure the United States remains on the forefront of developing this technology, small businesses must continue playing a critical role. The Small Business Innovation Research Program and the Small Technology Transfer has been an important public-private partnership that has harnessed entrepreneurs' ingenuity to move UAV technology forward. This committee can play an important oversight role in helping ensure those initiatives operate as Congress intended and help ensure small companies remain involved in drone development. Beyond the small business participation in UAV research, a number of other important policy issues must be addressed in order for commercial drone technology to fully blossom. The FAA's recent proposed rulemaking on licensing of drones and regulations of speed and altitude appears to be a good step in the right direction. It is my hope that today we can obtain a better understanding of how small companies, both as developers of drone technology and potential users, will be impacted by the rulemaking. In addition, there are significant privacy concerns associated with unmanned aerial systems. As always, the challenge will be balancing the need to protect the public from potential abuse while allowing room for this new technology to take root, grow, and help fuel commerce. Mr. Chairman, entrepreneurs have a significant stake in how our nation proceeds with the regulation and development of UAV technology. It is my hope that by working together with the industry, our nation can harness the full potential of this nascent technology, providing an exciting new sector for small businesses and creating opportunity for new jobs and economic growth. With that, let me thank the witnesses for coming here to testify, and especially I want to welcome a small business owner from my district, Mr. Streem, and is a business that is changing the face of the film industry. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you. If committee members have opening statements, I'd ask that they submit them for the record. And I'll take just a moment to explain our 5-minute rule, which is basically you get 5 minutes to speak. And there's a lighting system there to assist you. The green light will be on for about 4 minutes. The yellow light will come on to let you know you got about a minute to wrap up. And the red light will come on, and we'd ask you to try to stay within that as much as possible. We'll give you a little leeway, but not a whole lot. So we thank you for being here. And our first witness I'll introduce now is Brian Wynne. Mr. Wynne is the President and CEO of the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International. AUVSI is the largest trade association representing the unmanned systems and robotics industry. Mr. Wynne has significant transportation and technology experience. He has served in executive positions at the Electric Drive Transportation Association, the Intelligent Transportation Society of America, and the Association for Automatic Identification and Mobility. Mr. Wynne holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Scranton and a master's degree from the School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University. Our next witness will be Mike Gilkey, who is the CEO and Director of Flight Operations for 3D Aerial Solutions, LLC, a Dayton, Ohio, unmanned aircraft systems startup company. Mr. Gilkey has over 30 years of experience working on national security programs, primarily for the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. He has worked on airborne sensors research and development, as well as advanced projects for unmanned military aircraft. Mr. Gilkey and some colleagues from the defense industry founded 3D Aerial Solutions in 2013. It was the second company in Ohio to be granted a Section 333 exemption by the FAA and is now performing commercial operations for the agriculture industry in the Midwest. Mr. Gilkey earned both a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Electrical Engineering. Our third witness, Brian Streem, is a filmmaker and entrepreneur, as the ranking member mentioned. He is the CEO and co-founder of AeroCine, a commercial unmanned aircraft systems designer, builder, and operator located in the ranking member's district, as I mentioned, in New York. Mr. Streem has produced 5 feature films, including Sundance Film Festival winner James White. He also produced television commercials for Uber, Gatorade, Ralph Lauren, Toyota, Nokia, and Samsung. Mr. Streem is a graduate of the NYU Tisch School of Arts, where he studied filmmaking with a focus in art and technology. In 2013, Mr. Streem founded AeroCine with fellow NYU Tisch graduate and filmmaker Jeff Brink. And AeroCine was one of the first companies in the United States to receive permission to operate from the FAA. And I'll now yield to Ms. Velasquez to introduce Dr. McLain.
It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tim McLain. Professor McLain is the director of the National Science Foundation-sponsored Center for Unmanned Aircraft System, which, in conjunction with a number of universities, performs industry-sponsored research related to unmanned aircraft systems. He has over 15 years of research experience in this technology and has even been a co-founder of 2 USA's startup companies. In addition to his duties at the Center for Unmanned Aircraft Systems, Professor McLain also teaches in the Mechanical Engineering Department of Brigham Young University. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. We thank you all for being here. And Mr. Wynne, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Shabbat, Ranking Member Velasquez, and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk about unmanned aerial systems, unmanned aircraft systems. Excuse me. I'm speaking on behalf of the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, the world's largest nonprofit organization devoted exclusively to advancing the unmanned systems and robotics community. AUVSI has been the voice of unmanned systems for more than 40 years, and currently we have more than 7,500 members, including many small businesses that support and supply this high-tech industry. Unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, increase human potential, allowing us to execute dangerous or difficult tasks safely and efficiently. From inspecting pipelines and surveying bridges to filming movies and providing farmers with aerial views of their crops, the applications of UAS are virtually limitless and offer a superior way to see what needs to be seen in less time at less expense. For years, AUVSI has been the leading advocate for the safe integration of UAS into the National Airspace System. We were delighted earlier this year when the Federal Aviation Administration published its long-awaited proposed rules for commercial and civil operations of small UAS, which are systems that weigh 55 pounds or less. These proposed rules are a critical milestone in the UAS integration process and bring us closer to realizing the tremendous societal and economic benefits of this technology. As the FAA has worked on these rules, much has already changed in the industry. Since Congress tasked the FAA with creating UAS regulations in 2012, the technology has gone from a specialized tool to a must-have business asset. The flood of commercial exemption requests to the FAA shows that a mature UAS commercial market is waiting to be unleashed. Of the more than 700 exemptions, and I'm given to understand 800 now, the website is still catching up with the number of exemptions that have been issued, the vast majority are small businesses. Just as smartphones and tablets revolutionized our economy over the past decade, UAS are transforming the way a number of industries operate and are creating several new ones as well. Let me provide some examples. North Carolina-based Precision Hawk is a startup that manufactures UAS and cloud-based data collection software. Its platform is helping farmers survey crops and assisting insurance companies with claims following natural disasters. The company is also helping the FAA and industry research extended visual line-of-sight operations in rural areas. Precision Hawk started in 2010 with 6 employees and now has more than 70 with multiple offices in the U.S. and around the world. Another example is California-based Aerial Mob. The film company was one of the first to receive a commercial exemption from the FAA. It has since performed the first ever FAA-approved film production project with a major Hollywood studio and a number of promos for NBC, Apple, and Amazon, among others. My colleagues will give additional examples of real-world small business applications of UAS. The FAA continues to approve about 50 new commercial operations a week, a process that has recently been streamlined. However, this current system of case-by-case approvals, whether streamlined or not, isn't a long-term solution for the many small businesses wanting to fly. As an industry, we want to see the integration of UAS proceed and without any further delays. It's important that the FAA finalize the small UAS rules as quickly as possible. Once this happens, we will have an established framework for UAS operators that will allow anyone who follows the rules to fly. Equally important, Congress needs to pass and the President needs to sign into law an FAA reauthorization measure before the current authorization expires on September 30th, 2015. This measure is critical and the most immediate way to achieve the necessary steps to encourage innovation and ensure the continued safety of the national airspace while accelerating the commercial use of UAS. It's not just the many uses of this technology that are at stake, but also the 100,000 jobs and $82 billion in economic impact that the UAS industry is expected to create in its first decade following integration. With the right regulatory environment, there is no question these numbers could go even higher. But the longer we take, the more our nation risks losing its innovation edge, along with billions in economic impact. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gilkey, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Chavit, Ranking Member Velasquez, and members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be here today to discuss an entrepreneur's perspective of the emerging unmanned aircraft systems industry. Unmanned systems hold the potential to truly revolutionize our economy and way of life. Unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, provide innovative new tools for the common man, which are being employed in uncommon ways. A new industry is being born, resulting in the creation of many new small businesses. Small business people like me are slugging their way through the obstacles and bureaucracy to fulfill our dreams of creating this new industry. We are pioneers determined to succeed and believe the country and the world will be beneficiaries. I welcome the opportunity to be here today to inform the committee of our story and explore how Congress can foster a more accommodating environment for small business, which ensures safe operations and protects privacy. My colleagues and I created 3D aerial solutions in 2013 to leverage our expertise working with military unmanned aircraft and transition advanced technology know-how to civilian problems. We self-funded 3D aerial through an initial round of owner investment and began buying aircraft and equipment. We purchased a SenseFly EB aircraft, which I have here today, because it is highly automated, easy to use, and precise. We are now a sales agent for this product line. We began flying under the Academy of Model Aeronautics hobbyist rules and became experts on use of this equipment. 3D Aerial became an affiliate member of the Entrepreneurs Center, a technology business incubator in Dayton, Ohio, to gain access to business advice and meeting facilities. 3D Aerial believes we in the UAS industry have a responsibility to reach out and educate the public, and to this end, we started the Dayton Drone Users Group for community outreach. Our private business was not eligible to apply for a certificate of authorization in order to fly commercially. We collaborated with the Ohio-Indiana UAS Center and Test Complex and were able to fly on a COA they established. For the most part, however, we spent a year and a half in a holding pattern, awaiting for the authority to make money flying aircraft. 3D Aerial submitted our request for a Section 333 exemption on October 14, 2014, and was granted an exemption on March 3, 2015. We were the second company in Ohio to be granted this exemption. 3D Aerial received the corresponding COA in March 23rd and completed registration of our aircraft on May 7th. With these steps complete, we are now authorized to legally perform commercial flying services limited only to flights of the EB aircraft and only for agricultural applications. The blanket COA allows us to operate throughout the United States, but is subject to a large number of significant restrictions. 3D Aerial is now providing UAS flight services to perform aerial imaging of crops using the EB. We also process the imagery into a variety of desired image products, which we provide to the farmer. We are in the process of hiring more pilots and buying more aircraft. Small UAS like our EB can fly much lower than manned aircraft and can offer extremely high image resolution, less than 1 inch per pixel. They also can be operated very inexpensively and virtually on demand. The FAA issued its Notice of Proposed Rulemaking for operation and certification of small UAS on February 23rd. Implementation of final rules is not expected until mid-2016 at the earliest. While there are still many restrictions, the current rules as proposed will represent a step forward for the small UAS industry. 3D Aerial's primary concerns with the new rules as a small business operator are the cost to gain FAA operator certification, the phase-in period for compliance with new rules, impact of state and local rules restricting UAS operations, and enforcement of regulations. In closing, it is an exciting time to be in the emerging commercial UAS industry. If fostered through a reasonable balance of regulations to protect national airspace and accommodating economic policy, small business will be a significant engine of growth, delivering on the promise of new jobs and expanded tax base that will benefit our economy. Furthermore, the advanced technology capability we offer today will continue to improve and provide growing value to our society. On behalf of my colleagues at 3D Aerial Solutions, I thank you for allowing me to speak to you today.
Thank you very much. Mr. Streem, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velazquez, and members of the committee. My name is Brian Streem, and I am the co-founder and CEO of AeroCine, a drone company that uses unmanned aerial vehicles to fly Hollywood cameras for movies, television, advertising, and real estate, among other things. Thank you for having me here today and for holding this critical hearing. Ranking Member Velazquez, we're proud to be constituents of your district. It's my honor to be here before all of you. I wish I could tell you that I'm one of the world's foremost roboticists or rocket scientists, but for a hearing such as this—
Let me interrupt you just 1 second.
Sure.
In case anybody hasn't noticed, if you see on the screen, listen but watch. So,
do more watching than listening. I wish I was one of the world's foremost rocket scientists or roboticists, but for a hearing such as this, my experience as an artist and NYU Film School graduate is really the story. It's also just so happens I am building my own drones and consider this part of the new American dream. The unmanned aerial system industry worldwide has created a new generation of entrepreneurs who are innovating with small businesses that will reshape the global economy. Safe and responsible use of UAS will be ubiquitous across every sector of the economy. Unfortunately, this worldwide phenomenon is in jeopardy here at home in the United States due to the current state of regulation that prohibits commercial operations absent an exemption. I consider myself lucky, as AeroCine was among the very first U.S. companies and the very first New York company to receive the FAA exemption to operate commercially. But we continue to have to seek permission to adapt and change to what clients need. It is expensive, it's time-consuming, and it's frustrating. And yet my passion for the industry has not waned. 3 years ago, witnessing a quadcopter flying a miniature camera capturing breathtaking video, I was astonished, and I realized that this new technology would introduce the world to a new creative frontier, in addition to hundreds, if not thousands, of additional efficient and paradigm-shifting innovations. The implications for filmmaking were readily apparent. Film producers make extensive use of cranes, camera cars, helicopters, all in an elaborate effort to get the best shot. This is efficient and still viable in some cases, but drones are more cost-effective when operated responsibly and can greatly reduce potential risk to human lives. A drone has the capability to replace all of these on film sets while reducing the risk to human life and enhancing the artistic pursuit. What excited me about drones 3 years ago is the same thing that excites me today. At their very core, drones present a way to easily place a sensor anywhere in three-dimensional space. What could once only be dreamed can now be produced. When my partner Jeff Breek and I started AeroCine, we planned to simply purchase a drone to carry large cinema cameras. Finding no suitable system on the market, we drew from academic and aerospace circles to build a team of engineers and set out to create an aerial robotics system of our own. Today, our work ranges from designing custom UAVs to operating UAVs for big budget films, television shows, live programs, and special events. We are proud to be bringing to consumers image and video that has never been created. The FAA's efforts to integrate UAVs into the national airspace are commendable in the face of extraordinary challenges. One notable step is the increased speed with which the FAA is awarding Section 333 exemptions. The publication of a proposed rule for small drones is also promising, but we understand we may be a year or more away from a final rule, and even so, the proposed rule is in many respects too restrictive. Evidenced by many companies' move to test in Canada and elsewhere, If we do not scramble to bring our regulations up to speed, our innovators will be eclipsed by entrepreneurs in other countries that have an established legal framework. Before we conclude, we would like to invite the members of the committee to visit our website, aerocine.com, to view some of our captivating cinematography that this new technology has allowed us to capture. We would like to also thank the Small UAV Coalition for its leadership in promoting the UAV industry. AeroCine stands ready to assist this committee and the U.S. Congress in bringing this exciting technology to consumers, and we thank you for your leadership in holding this hearing. Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Velazquez, and members of the committee, this concludes my opening statement. I look forward to answering any questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. McLain, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velazquez, and members of the committee for inviting me to speak today. I will provide the perspective of a professor who has been involved in unmanned aircraft systems research for over 15 years and who has interacted with small businesses in a variety of ways. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering at Brigham Young University and currently direct a National Science Foundation-sponsored research consortium called the Center for Unmanned Aircraft Systems. The center brings together researchers from industry and academia to collaborate on research challenges facing the UAS industry. Our research universities include BYU, the University of Colorado, and Virginia Tech. From my perspective, small businesses have played a vital role in the creation and growth of the UAS industry in the United States. Without doubt, a significant portion of the innovation in the UAS industry has come from entrepreneurial startup companies. During the last decade, as unmanned aircraft have had a transformational impact on military operations, and as the promise of regulatory change has increased their viability for commercial applications, larger companies have taken greater interest in small UAS. Illustrating the importance of small business to the UAS industry, a common approach for large companies to enter or become more competitive in the UAS marketplace has been for them to acquire small, innovative companies. As regulations are put in place to allow commercial flights of UAS, there will be a shift away from defense applications and an acceleration of market opportunities. This is particularly true for small UAS due to their accessibility and relatively low cost. Applications that have been envisioned for small UAS include agricultural monitoring, infrastructure inspection, wildlife monitoring, package delivery, aerial mapping, and many more. As Mr. Wynne has testified, AUVSI projects that the 10-year economic impact of UAS in the United States will be $82 billion, with over 100,000 new high-tech jobs created. Because many UAS application markets are undeveloped and high risk, it is likely that small, innovative businesses will be the first. If the costs of obtaining authorization to fly are too high, then these UAS markets of opportunity will be closed to all but larger companies that are well capitalized. Smaller companies will not be able to participate and bring their creative products to market. Costs for UAS technologies and services will remain high, innovation and progress will be hampered, and the U.S. will lose its competitive leadership position in an industry that it pioneered. The progress of UAS research and commercialization in the United States has been inhibited by the lack of a regulatory framework that allows unmanned aircraft flights to take place. The FAA's Small UAS Notice of Proposed Rulemaking is a good step forward that will help accelerate growth in many UAS application areas and allow viable UAS businesses to be established. The Small UAS rule, however, only allows flight within visual line of sight of the operator. For many important applications, such as oil pipeline monitoring and package delivery, beyond line of sight capabilities are essential. Regulations permitting safe beyond line of sight flight are needed to allow the benefits of UAS technology to be fully realized. In summary, small businesses have played a vital role in the development of the U.S. unmanned aircraft industry by way of their vision, innovation, and willingness to take risk in emerging technology markets. As we move into the future of commercial UAS applications, small businesses will continue to make critical contributions to the success of this important industry. Thank you again for the opportunity to address the committee. I look forward to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. And to be fair, we apply the same 5-minute rule to ourselves that we applied to you, so we'll all stay within 5 minutes ourselves. And I'll recognize myself for that purpose at this time. Mr. Wynne, I'll begin with you. Aging infrastructure is, as I'm sure you know, a significant issue all across the United States. In my own district, we have the Brent Spence Bridge, which we're struggling with trying to find a way to replace it. It's considered functionally obsolete. What are the benefits of using UAS to inspect aging infrastructure around the country? And if you want to give examples, that's fine.
I think they're very significant, Mr. Chairman. Typically, when you're inspecting a bridge, you have to close that bridge. People have to potentially hang off the bridge with, in harnesses and look. We have enormously sophisticated sensors today that can be mounted on these platforms that can actually do that job, in some instances better than the Mark I eyeball. So being able to actually fly a UAS under a bridge rather than putting a human under can actually not only increase the safety of that operation, but also increase the effectiveness of it.
And obviously, I mean, UAS can have different forms. This one is a fixed wing. Now, if you were inspecting a bridge, I assume it would be more of a helicopter.
Rotary based.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Gilkey, let me turn to you if I can. And it's great to have an Ohio company that's a trailblazer for this new industry appear before the committee. You've described the challenge of the evolving regulatory environment for a small business like 3D Aerial Solutions. What are some of the other challenges that you've encountered or are currently encountering?
One of the biggest challenges we have is with public perception. People are afraid of drones who aren't educated on what they can do and the safety aspects of it. That is something that challenges us, and that is why we feel a responsibility to do community outreach, which we're doing with the Dayton Drone Users Group. That is one of the biggest. And state economic development funding is flowing in the state to support work in this area. It is not coming to companies like ours. It is disproportionately going to public institutions and research institutions that don't provide benefit to companies like 3D Aerial.
Okay. When you say people are, some people are afraid of drones, what are they afraid of?
Privacy rights violations is the primary concern, and then safety is a second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Streem, I'll turn to you now. In your testimony, you noted that the proposed rule for UAS, and your belief is too restrictive. What are your concerns with the operating restrictions that the FAA has proposed?
One of them is the ability to fly it.
The FAA's proposed or they're going to be.
Why has it taken 9 years to bring about the current small UAS rule proposal? In the course of these 9 years, small businesses have come and gone because of the lack of a regulatory framework.
So you don't see any steps that other countries have taken that could be implemented here by FFA to expedite the process?
Well, I think the small UAS rule is a good step forward, and I think if they could get that in place, that would close the gap between the regulations in other parts of the world and what we have currently in the United States, which is very, very limiting.
Thank you. Mr. Streem, your business holds a certificate of authorization from the FAA that allows it to commercially fly drones for close-range aerial imaging. How difficult was it for your firm to obtain this certificate?
It's incredibly difficult, in particular because we were one of the first to file for it. There was no roadmap to really go by it.
But my question is, today, are you aware if it's complex and difficult?
I'm not, because I'm not going through the process. I would expect it's simpler.
Okay. I have a question about Insurance and liability. I understand that not too many carriers are providing insurance. And so what risk does it pose to the public and to those who are have drones at this point? Yeah.
Yes. We have insurance. It's expensive.
Well, one study found that 2/3 of businesses operate without commercial liability.
Right. It's an expensive cost for small business that many avoid until they have to. We just got our insurance recently when we just began to fly. We have collision and liability insurance for our operations.
And with 2/3, what is happening when accidents occur and the operator does not have the insurance?
I don't know.
Be taken to court?
Yes.
Okay.
The gentlelady's
Thank you,
time's
Mr.
expired.
Chairman.
Thank you. The gentleman from California, Mr. Knight, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the Wright brothers' history there. I always appreciate that, and I appreciate seeing all these new companies here since the Wright brothers beat out a government contract over 100 years ago, and I think that is kind of the story. My questions are, and I think either Mr. Gilkey, maybe Mr. Wynne talked about privacy. We've had some recent problems in firefighting in California where folks have flown UASs into the firefighting scene trying to get some pictures or put something on the internet. They've interfered with firefighting operations. In fact, at one point they had to stop drops into the area because of the UAS actions by civilians. How does your industry feel about that? Should there be some talk about that in Congress? Should there be some restrictions on that? How do you feel?
Happy to field that one. My son's a firefighter, so I feel very strongly. In all of these instances, a temporary flight restriction, a TFR, was put up around the operation, and the air boss for that TFR, whoever was actually handling the operations, was having to divert his traffic because there were things flying around in there that didn't belong in there, were not under positive control. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing in any temporary flight restriction, whether it's over a sporting event or any other place. I think education is, again, key. We have people flying right now who are not aviators. They don't understand exactly what a TFR is.
That's right.
They're violating FAA regulations, and they should be. Those regulations need to be enforced because there are lives and property at stake. So the community feels very strongly that this is our responsibility to educate our operators and make certain. We have a difficult situation right now because in those instances, they might actually be people who are flying that are not commercial operators, and anyone can go and buy support are pretty complex. And we're sort of in a walk, jog, run situation. What we're encouraging the FAA while for
news coverage, inspections, surveillance, data collection, mapping, and surveying, photo, video, film production, and many other services. However, I also believe that we must address unanswered questions that this new technology brings to the forefront of safety in America's skies. We must address the issues of authority, privacy, accountability, and transparency. It was interesting to hear how this technology has developed over the years and its potential as a growth industry and what we can do to assure that we can facilitate drone use in American airspace while keeping all forms of air travel and ensure privacy for all people. Having said that, Dr. McLain, when you speak of being able to go beyond line of sight for certain industries, my question is, how do we control and stabilize the aircraft beyond what our eyes can see? And what technology would need to be in place to ensure that we have control of the aircraft at all times, given the challenges of cybersecurity and the liability inherent in commercial use?
So that's a good question. I think there are several technologies that can be brought to bear to enable beyond line of sight flight. The control of the aircraft or the stability of the aircraft technology exists to do that. Current autopilot technology makes that possible, and of course it's used in military applications all the time. You bring up the security of communications links, and I think it's fair to say that most of the communication links used in commercial UAS applications and even in some military applications are not as secure as they could be. So there might need to be technology applied to make those communication links as they extend, especially beyond line of sight, secure. Other technology that could be brought to bear is sense and avoid or detect and avoid technology that would allow the aircraft to detect other aircraft in the airspace and to take appropriate measures to avoid other aircraft as they were encroaching. There's a variety of ways to do that. The next-gen system that's being proposed by the FAA utilizes ADS-B to communicate the locations of all the aircraft in the airspace, and that could be used for unmanned aircraft, certainly. Most robust would be to have the capability of each aircraft to detect the other aircraft in the air, what we call non-cooperatively, so they can do it without the cooperation of any networked system or something like that. And in that case, they'd be probably using radar or machine vision sorts of techniques to detect the other aircraft.
And the issue of liability, I raise that because baking in cybersecurity measures and liability now increases the cost of actually operating for a small business owner. Do you see this as being sort of undercutting the industry or just a necessity?
I think for certain applications, the cybersecurity or the security of the communications link might be vital. There might be other applications where whether it's due to the location of the flight and the lack of populated areas and so forth, where it may not be necessary.
Very well. Mr. Streem, what measures are your company taking specifically to ensure safety of not only your UASs, but aircraft in the skies that might be flying in the spaces where you're filming?
Sure. I mean, we have operating procedures that have been approved by the FAA. We can't go above 400 feet. We have to file a COA. We have to, file a NOTAM that pretty much notifies any other aircraft of where we are, what we're doing. When it comes to a film shoot, the people on the ground are very well aware. There's typically a director, and then there's a first AD, which is an assistant director. And that AD is in charge of saying, okay, there's going to be a car that's going to go over a ramp and it's going to explode. Everybody look out for the explosion. In this case, there's going to be a drone flying in the sky. It's going to do this. Know about that.
I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Gentlelady's time's expired. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Hanna, who is the chairman of the Subcommittee on Contracting and Workforce, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm also a pilot. I'm on the FAA Subcommittee, and I have the privilege to represent Griffiths Air Park, which is one of the 6 sites, so I'd invite you all to come and visit and look around. It's a great place. 13,000 feet of runway and a solid 4 seasons.
Feet visual. You're basically able.
How long this has taken, this process. We talk about education here today, but it seems like in this place here on the Hill, we have a way of, we want somehow to one size fits all unless it comes to something new. Then we want to make sure that you get some new regulations, you get some new oversight. In the industry that I'm in, and have been all my life, insurance aspects. You know what? In order to have something or do something in my business, sell it even, you have to have liability insurance before you can get it. why are we reinventing the wheel? Does that seem like a logical thing that we just, if you're going to buy something, purchase something, you should have to be in the same aspects as all other business people utilizing it, not because you can't afford it and risk? The other question I would ask is, does it seem like things like the knowledge part of this? You know, my industry, there's a law out there nationally, call before you dig. You know, in my business, innocence or ignorance is not a sign of innocence. When you go to jail, you get paid, you pay your fines. Somebody out there flying around in restricted airspace or doing things that without that. Anybody care to comment on that thought process and why it takes us so long to get things done in this place every time we turn around? I'll take anybody's.
Initially, I think part of the problem is that the FAA pursued a one-size-fits-all solution to aircraft in the airspace. And while that makes sense for manned aircraft, I think it doesn't make sense for unmanned aircraft, where the spectrum of sizes and relative risk from the micro UAVs that we're seeing here or to the Predators or Global Hawks, there's such a broad spectrum that it doesn't make sense to regulate them all with the same rule.
UVSI is standing up an insurance program for UAS operators. So we're getting into that business. We're encouraging underwriters to come in and understand what's going on. Fundamentally, we're just at the cusp of this. And although Mr. Hanna pointed out that the technology has been around for some time, in some ways, the insurance world is just understanding what's the risk associated with flying as a real estate agent versus flying as a construction person, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different applications. I personally think that normal business rules are ultimately going to apply here. The insurance companies require certain things for flying an airplane that the FAA doesn't require. You know, single engine land is single engine land. I can fly an airplane as a pilot. But, you know, if the airplane has retractable gear, the insurance company is going to require you to do dual time with an instructor because they don't want you to land with the gear up kind of thing. So the insurance companies will actually come along, I think, in this instance, and we're hearing that from the underwriters as we stand up this program, and they will basically come up with those solutions and understand, you know, what are the additional requirements that we need to put in place so that we can insure you at an appropriate premium.
I'd like to take a little bit different direction. You know, my district, I represent Nellis Air Force Base is in my district, and the Nellis Test Range. I've talked to the folks at the base. Today, they're not worried too much about it, but as progression goes on, and we are one of those sites selected, and they worry there's top secret information out there that as things are able to go higher, they get more ability, that maybe some of that secrecy may not be available. Is there anything we can do to stop, assure that will never happen, and as being one of our testing areas? Not really. We'll just say not really. But it's a question that needs to be answered. Is my time over? Anyway, one of the other issues that is big for area, and I want to confirm it again, that the science is there. As you may or may not know, the Creech Air Force Base is in the test range. Most of those drone strikes that we have, that we read about, are from Creech on sites over 11,000 miles away. So the technology is there to fly that unmanned vehicle without somebody being able to see it, because I don't think anybody can see for 11,000 miles away. But does the private sector have the ability to have that same technology today?
Absolutely. It's not military grade, perhaps.
Understandably.
Effort between FAA
That list would take us most of the afternoon.
Okay.
Happily, I think what we're seeing, we're in the process of looking and analyzing the Section 333 applications to date, and a very, very large percentage are small business, beginning with real estate, insurance folks, obviously wedding photographers across the board to the kind of services that Mr. Streem offers, because you can, again, use these platforms to put lots of different things on them, cameras being the most obvious for all of us. So I think there's almost an unlimited number of small business that can take advantage of this. Agriculture is a big chunk of what we see going forward as well. And of course, agriculture, there's large agriculture, but the vast majority of farmers are small business people. And in many instances, that's a good example of a low-risk operation that might even be beyond visual line of sight, where a farmer is surveying their crops over a hill, again, over their own property and very safely with various procedures in place if, say, a helicopter came into the area, things like that. Hopefully that answers your question, ma'am.
Yes. You went into my next question, which is regarding the farmers and restrictions. As we look at all the industries or small businesses that can spin off from this industry, there are some real concerns about, you talked about a challenge which was line of sight, but there also has been a lot of issues, and I serve on oversight, about regulation. You know, what type of restrictions should I put as a government on this industry based on my privacy rights, based on my opting out of maybe a delivery? There's a big issue about package delivery. Maybe I don't want you to come and drop a box on my porch. What are some of the restrictions that you're hearing as these small businesses are looking at implementing this